present. Next is the adoption of the agenda. I would entertain a motion.
I would move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please cast your vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. The next item is public comments. Public comments will be allowed for a duration of 3 minutes per speaker to be timed by the board clerk. Speakers must sign up for in-person public comment by 1 p.m. the day of the board meeting. Casey, do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Okay, thank you. Number 4, consent agenda. The consent agenda is considered to be routine business and can be, let me find my line here, approved with a simple motion, second, and a majority vote. What are the wishes of the board?
I move to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please cast your vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
And I do want to acknowledge some contributions or donations from the community, so thank you for supporting our students and our programs. That brings us to item 6A, primary resource materials for EHS Reading Intervention course.
And Cheryl Leeds, Interim Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, is going to come and present this item.
Good evening. We would like to propose the EHS High School has a reading intervention course to assist students that need additional support in reading. After reviewing the materials for this course, we recommend the purchase of Read 180. Read 180 will facilitate the use of small groups and direct instruction to help students with their reading in the reading intervention courses. We request the purchase of 121 subscriptions to Read 180, along with supporting resources and professional development that would be provided for the teachers in the utilization of the resource, along with a continuing, it's called Coachly. It's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They can log in and someone will chat back with them, or they can set up a weekly appointment where they will have a Zoom meeting with someone that will sit down with them and talk about instructional practices, using the resources, making groups, analyzing their data. So there's a lot of power to the resource.
What questions do you have?
I was wondering how you landed on 121 individual subscriptions. Does that represent the students who?
That represents the students that are currently enrolled. When I talked with Mr. Fisher, these are the students that are in the 2 at-risk classes and then the 2 special education classes. And that's the number of students that are enrolled. And when I talked with the representative, she said, you can get that, and then if you have students move in, you can add people without a change in the cost. I mean, you would have to pay for that one license, but it wouldn't be the whole amount. It would be
That's good. Yeah, I think that leads to my next question. Really, is if we know we view that this program is successful this year, could this sort of be a reoccurring expense that we might see year to year?
The reoccurring would be the annual subscription per student. The library and those resources would not be a reoccurring. The Coachly, if it was needed. The reason Mr. Fisher and I talked about, did we go with a 1 year or with a multiple year, and we felt like if we saw the gains, we would renew, and they would give us a discount. So, and this would be using at-risk funds, so.
I can go next. Did you have any more questions? Okay. I was wondering, what other high schools, maybe if there's any other high schools around our area or in Kansas that use Read 180, and what success they've seen with the program?
There are other districts that use it. They've seen gains. They've seen that students have closed the gap. So it's possible that they could close the gap within a year. It may take, a year and a half, 2 years, but they said that they can make the gains.
Okay. And then I was looking over the proposal, and it talks about the 2-hour getting started session for teacher professional development. Is that something that the teachers will be able to do during the school day? Will they be doing that on their own time? How will that work?
They will do that more than likely. I was talking with our sales rep, and it could possibly be done during a PD day, either the early release day or an all-day PD day.
Thank you.
Yep.
I will add that I'm very familiar with Read 180. It was an intervention program that we utilized in my former district for several years, and we continued to renew it, so I believe we were seeing the results we wanted.
One more question, just out of curiosity. Is this replacing a current intervention program we have, or is this something just completely new we're bringing?
It is to layer on top of the current HMH. The HMH that they have right now is not geared for the students that are at risk. And the teachers have tried really hard to make it work, and they said they weren't making the gains that they felt like they needed to make.
Well, because we love to use those at-risk funds, especially for the evidence-based programs, I am excited to say that I will move to approve the adoption and purchase of student and teacher resources for the reading intervention course at Emporia High School as submitted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please cast your vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Item 6B, the 2025 initial Kansas State assessment results.
Cheryl will stay up here, and Dr. Cardula will join her to go through our initial state assessment results.
As you know, Kansas did a restructuring of the cut scores, and we had a new assessment, so there was no way we can compare to last year's, to the year before's data. KSDE sent a key message saying that, quote, "We've been living in a misaligned system. Current cut scores didn't reflect the actual student success. The proposed cut scores represent a more precise measure of student achievement. The deeper that we've studied individual student performance on state assessments against other measures like ACT performance, AP coursework, dual credit, graduation rates, and post-secondary success, we found that Kansas assessment performance standards were misaligned. Today, only about 1 out of 4 Kansas high school students score at the level 3 or 4, but more than half go on to succeed at college or in career pathways. The misalignment means too many students are told they are not proficient when, in reality, they're thriving. The new cut scores provide more accurate, data-informed picture of what success really looks like. Kansas assessment proficiency standards are out of step with the national benchmarks, and it has created a confusion for students and their families. Kansas state assessment results didn't align with the nationally normed tests, making them difficult for educators and families to interpret or trust. In fact, research shows students often must score in the top 25% of nationally just to be labeled proficient in Kansas in the old manner. That's not a fair or realistic measure, and it distorts how we identify success and support our students. We've seen students who score in level 2 on the state assessments and go on to score a 22 in the ACT. That doesn't add up. So that is what drove the recalibration of the state assessments. The next slide gives you an overview of our district results for ELA. You can see that we are very close on all of the reading assessments. Some of them we are just, 2 to 3 points from being at state average. In the box next to, on the right side of the slide, it has the cut scores. That shows you what the scores are. To be a level 2 would be a 510. To be a level 3 would be 540. And a level 4 is 609, and the highest score that you can get is a 700. And I will tell you, we've dug into some of our data, and we do have some students that are very close to the 700. So the next slide shows you how our students at each grade level break down into the quartiles, so that you can see how we are doing in comparison to the state results for the quartiles. If a student scores a level 1, that shows that they have limited ability to demonstrate their knowledge and skills for the 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, et cetera, in ELA, math, and science standards. A level 2 shows basic ability to demonstrate their knowledge. A level 3 is proficient to demonstrate their knowledge, and level 4 is advanced. So level 3 is on grade level, and 4 is above grade level. The next slide is our math. When we look at our math, again, we're very close on most of our scores. As we have been looking at our assessment results with our building administration, some things kind of jumped out. It was like, gosh, we get them almost equal to the state average in 5th grade, and then there's a drop in the 6th. And so we talked about what could be possibly causing that. And there's a lot of different ideas. It might be a change in the testing environment. It may be that they're used to being in one classroom and doing all their testing in one classroom. And when you go classroom to classroom, that might change or cause some students some anxiety. So there's some test anxiety they're thinking, but we're going to be doing some things to help alleviate that. And as you can see, once they get to the high school, we're closing the gap again. We're within 10 points of being at the state average. On the next
Cheryl,
slide.
can I ask you a question really quick on that one? On the middle school, I know, I was part of the IBB this last year, and we talked, with the middle school and the ENEA reps about doing a little bit more differentiated instruction and a little bit more leveling in the middle school, especially in math. Do you think that's something that could help with these math scores as well over time?
I think that's definitely something that we're looking at. We're looking at a lot of different approaches to identifying what our students need and how to address them. So Dr. Cardula will be talking more about what we're going to do with our next steps to help our kids achieve better. On the next slide, it is again the performance indicators, the performance level descriptors. It goes with the same as what it did with the ELA, and you can see that we have some work to do. There are things that we're going to be looking at, and Dr. Cargill is going to be talking about what specifically those things are using our data. If you'll go to the science, when you looked at your math and your ELA, you saw that you had 3rd through 10th grade. Our science, you see that there's only 5th and 8th. There's no 11th grade, and the 11th grade took it. KSDE sent out a note that while students did take the 2025 grade 11 science assessment, the results did not provide a full range of scores needed to set the official cut score. The cut scores are points on a scale that identify which performance level a student falls into, such as levels 1 through 4. Without the range of scores, the state cannot report results in a usual performance categories that families and educators understand that the students are performing. So they didn't give students scores because they were all too close together, too packed together. So they're going to be doing some things of realigning and that sort of thing for next year. So that's why we don't have the 11th grade. But as you can see, we're very close to the state average on those. Dr. Cardula is going to talk about our next steps.
Need to get my water so I don't cough. A lot. That's all right. I'm getting better. So I get to talk about next steps, which is exciting. We started to roll out these performance level descriptors. What they are is they describe for each standard. So if you look at this one that Ms. Leeds presented, this is standard 4. And this was specifically chosen because on the next slide we have some questions that go along with it. But this is a standard, and we have evidence statements, and then the state gives us targets. So to be at a level 1, that's what the student needs to be able to know and be able to do to be a level 1. Then level 2, level 3, and level 4. What this is important is it allows us to understand and interpret what the standard means. It gives us a kind of a target of what students need to be able to do in order to score a level 3. So these have been out for the first test. We didn't use them as much as we should. Now moving into the new test, these are out. We're gonna put these into play a lot more to help us with our curriculum guides, to help our teachers understand exactly where they need to be teaching. So we understand where we need to spend time and where we have time, where we can find extra time to put somewhere else. We'll combine this with our curriculum guides, so it helps identify our standards and align to the subjects. It ensures alignment, ensures that we're teaching the right thing when we're supposed to be teaching it. And they're grade level specific, so we'll start introducing, like right now we're working on a lot during data talks with our principals, making sure they understand what they mean and how they can be used. We need to make sure that we understand what it means to be at a level 3, which is important. That's where we want our instruction to be, is at level 3. And then it'll also help us figure out, when we start looking at the data from our assessment scores or from our KIPE assessments that we're going to talk about in a minute, but we start to figure out how to provide intervention to our students at level 2, at tier 2 and tier 3. So if you go to the next one, if you look at these questions, and actually, can you go back one? I just want to show something. So if you look at level 1 talks about a range of 1 to 20 on the factors. Level 2 goes up to 50, and level 3 goes up to 100. So you're looking at numbers, in level 1, no bigger than 20, level 2, no bigger than 50, and level 3, no bigger than 100. And then level 4, you start to getting into explain why they're factors. So it ups that cognitive level to explain. So if you go to the next slide, and you think about those different levels, and you think about that first question, and these are KIPE mini tests. This is something that the KIPE portal is where we take a state assessment. The KSD also provides mini tests, which are items that are similar to the items students would take on the real test. They're released, and we can use them instructionally. We can give mini tests for them. We can also construct interim type tests, which tells us, say at the end of the first quarter, how are we doing? Are we reaching our benchmarks? Are we where we should be after this instructional period? And we can combine mini tests with interim tests to kind of know if we're on mark. But if you look at these questions, like question 1 there says, which numbers are a factor of 48? So that number is 48, so it's less than 50, so that would be a level 2 type question. So the students are getting that one right, then they're on track at level 2. Then you look at that next one, some factors of 28 are given. That's a little bit different one, but that's still a level 2 type of a problem. And then question 3 would be more of a level 1 because it's 8 and 12, but it's beginning a little bit more complex. And then level 4 would be getting close to, question 4 would be getting closer to a level 3 type of a question. So those are the kind of questions that we can use for our mini tests, which the goal would be that we want to use these as a common assessment. And the nice thing about these is these are pre-made, they're aligned to the standards, and our teachers, if we use these correctly, can save time in creation of tests, so we spend more time using the data to figure out what our kids know. Because through the KIPE portal, we can assign these tests to our classroom. The teacher would then assign the test to the student would go to the KIPE portal, take the test, and then the results are immediately available to them through the KIPE portal. And they can download it item by item, so we can do an item analysis to kind of see which kids got which questions right. So if you're looking at question 3 there, and a few kids choose the first answer, and the few kids in the other part of the class chooses 4, you can have a conversation with the class about, okay, why did you choose the first one? Why did you group choose this first one? Why did that group choose this one? So you start to do some error analysis with a class, because these are really instructionally based. They should be used instructionally. Teachers can show them on the board, they can go over them, and they can use them to modify their instruction and make sure that they're teaching to the level they should be teaching. So it's really exciting to do these things. Plus, it really allows, like I said before, it allows our teachers to use items that are created to construct a test and then spend time using the data to inform instruction. We want them to be tired of using the data, not creating. And that's kind of where we want to be. So I think that's, for me, that's a big piece, is we really want to use that data to make sure that we're instructing at the correct level and that our kids can learn at the correct level, which, if you go back to the PLDs, that'd be the level 3. So I think that's pretty much what I got. Do you have any questions for us?
I will say, as a mom, my kids are a lot older now, but as a mom of 2 kids who really had some hardcore test anxiety, I love the idea of the mini tests, and taking those over and over and getting closer and not having so much, like, I love the hype that we put around the test, but that also heightens that level of anxiety for so many kids. So them knowing that, oh, well, I've done this before. Like, I've seen this, I can do this. I think that's really, really great. And I love that we can get that feedback so quickly and break it down. I just think it's really good. I'm encouraged to hear about that.
And the nice thing, like I said before, is these items are taken to the Kite portal, which is the exact same tool they use to take the real test. So they're going to become more familiar with it. Plus, if they have accommodations on the Kite portal, those same accommodations will show up when they're taking these tests as well. And we show math, but if a student has an accommodation for ELA, it would show up through that as well. So they can use all their accommodations on these tests just like they would on the real state assessment tests.
And our goal is to work with our administrators and instructional coaches from this point forward this year to really get them embedded in the practices and using that so that they are comfortable, so that they can roll it out to the teachers, get the teachers using the mini tests, and then we'll spend time this summer really looking at, okay, here's what we say we're teaching. Is it aligning with the state standard? And then create our mini tests around that, because KSDE will actually create an Emporia interim test, which will take all of the mini tests that we give, those concepts, and create it. So we'll do some mini tests so we can kind of do dipsticking, and are they getting what they need, and doing the reteaching. And then when we get to the interim, we know, okay, how are we doing with those, and chunk it so that when we get to the state assessment, it shouldn't be a surprise. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, the goal would be to, get to the point where we develop these interim assessments that are common across the district by grade level, by course, and it even helps us. It helps our principals kind of watch the pacing of instruction and learning across the classroom. If we're going to be taking this particular interim test on October 12th, then we need to try to get the students ready for that point in time. And then like you said, with the students and teachers alike start to look at assessments in a different way. It's assessment for learning, not always assessment of what's been learned. And you can make the adjustments. And it's just like when I do my Duolingo, if I miss something, it goes back and it wants me to do it again till I understand it and get it right. And that's what we're doing here. You can assess for the learning. If we don't get it, let's go back and see what we didn't get until we understand it and can get it right.
And it will allow teachers to sit down with their instructional coaches and their administrators and look at their results and say, as a class, my class really didn't do as well as Dr. Cardula's class did on this problem, and allows us to have that collegial conversation about the practices and why that might have happened. Or mine might have rocked it, and he would come to me and ask. Or we would, hopefully, everybody's rocking it, and we just know that we're doing the right thing. So I've seen the power of this type of thing really have an impact on student achievement.
One question I had looking at these results, and kind of going back to the last item with the high school 180 reading tool, do we need a tool for the elementary kids? Or do we already have one?
We have a lot in place. We haven't really looked at the elementary yet. We're still trying to figure out what do we have and what are we using consistently from building to building. It's taking some time to make sure that we're using the same resources and that sort of thing. But that's one of the things that I've talked to Mr. Burns about, is possibly that it might be a resource for the middle school.
Yeah.
If it works well at the high school, so that maybe next year we wouldn't need 121 licenses at the high school, because we would fill the gaps when they were at the middle school.
Thanks.
I had a question, probably for Ryan possibly, but how do they use, in a simplified manner, how are cut scores used to determine the different levels of proficiency and so forth?
Well, they do standard setting, and I've never been involved with the standard setting, but it's kind of a bookmarking where they line up the items from, like, this is an item where a student should score level 1 all the way up to level 4, and then they use the performance of our students to figure out the bands where kids score. And every kid gets a standard score based on how many items they get right. I think, and I don't really know the complete background behind the test, but it's based on their standard score and the items they're getting right and they're getting wrong. Does that make sense? Somewhat. I can do some research on that and share some more.
That's fine, thank you.
Thanks for doing all of this. I keep going back to something that KSDE said, in their opening statement, that, a student can score at a level 2 and still get a 22 on their ACT. So I know that happens here also in our district for sure. And so maybe this is just a thought, I don't think it's a question, but could we ever get like a portrait? I mean, confidentiality is most important, but we have those kids, and I know that they go on and succeed. I've had, other parents tell me, or grandparents, like, my kid got this on the ACT, but this was their state assessment, and this was their GPA. So I feel like there's a lot of the data that could be pulled together to really help us better understand how our students are succeeding, because they are, and that's what we need to uplift too.
And the thing we have to remember is this is one data point. And the state assessment results, this is one data point on one day, 2 days, as they take it. And it could have been a bad day. It could be that they stressed out, maybe they didn't get the sleep, whatever. It's one thing. So that's why we always try to triangulate data is, okay, are they doing well in class? Are they getting high on the ACT or the ACT or SAT? And maybe they don't do this as well. This is one data point, so.
Ideally, we would end up with a dashboard that has a lot of different measures, CTE, credentials, all sorts of things that we need to identify. What do we feel is showing student success? And this is just one measure. There are lots of measures. I'm not going to name them off here because I'm not as smart as a lot of the people that would help us to do that. But that's what we need to really get to the point where, we can just pull up a dashboard on our website, and all this data, various data points are there, and how our students are doing. The first thing we have to do is identify what are all the ways we want to measure that we feel we can measure their success, and identify those, and then start tracking the data.
I'm glad you brought that up, Jamie, because that did come up at our table last night at cost containment. It wasn't really, cost containment related, but people who are participating in that are still very interested in student success. And a lot of conversation does come up around the standardized testing, so thanks for bringing that up. And you reinforced pretty much everything we talked about.
And, I think it was last year, we had a study session on our state assessments where you really did just disaggregate the data, and it was so helpful and so enlightening as a school board member to see that. And so I mean, maybe we could do that,
Our
at
plan
some
is to do
point.
that. The KSDE, the state board hasn't, have they accepted? If they did, it's just been very recently that they released them for consumption. So we just went with what was released to kind of get a beginning point. But yeah, we've talked with David about having a work time to really look at what subgroups, what are we doing, what things do we have in place, maybe what do we need to look into. So this is just putting our toe in the water. And our data talks with our administrators, instructional coaches are going to be ongoing throughout the year, not twice a year, so.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, that's going to bring us to item 7A, board reports.
So the Emporia Rec Commission met this past Monday, and we didn't have a whole ton of business. We were doing some research on credit card processing fees to make sure we're getting the best bang for our buck, because that is something that actually racks up pretty quick in terms of cost. We got a pretty positive update about Rec Extra, and then Varney and Associates did our audit, and we had a clean audit. I've never not had a clean audit at the Emporia Rec Commission. It's a pretty well-run place. Very proud of our staff.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, the Wellness Committee had our first meeting in a very, very long time, with Heather having taken some time off last spring for baby. But we had a great meeting talking about current registration numbers. The number enrolled in the wellness program is really, really, it's the highest it's ever been. But participating in all the different things has been a bit, it's been okay, but it's been a bit stagnant since 2020. So discuss a lot of the challenges there with participation, including in the things that, in their partnership with ESU. So just really struggling to get participation in anything that is offered in person back up anywhere near where it used to be. And so just discuss that a little bit, all the different checkpoints, and just making sure employees are being communicated with, all the different meetings, discussed incentive ideas, because that can make or break what they participate in, and the upcoming biometric screenings. So pretty much so all the standard things.
Thank you. That's going to bring us to item 8A, superintendent report.
Yeah, a few items this evening to celebrate. We had girls' state tennis results over the weekend. I'm not sure whether it's Callie or Kaylee. Kaylee, all right. Kaylee Keough placed fourth in the singles. Peyton Shanley and Kinsley Hines placed sixth in the doubles. So congratulations to them at the state tennis meet. Kansas Can Star recognitions came out recently. We did receive recognition from KSD as part of the Kansas Can Star recognition. We received a copper award for post-secondary effectiveness, a bronze award for high school graduation, and then the Commissioner's Award, which is designated for outperforming the district's statistically predicted post-secondary effectiveness rate. So they look at various things like poverty, mobility, so on, and predict what our success will be, and we outperformed it enough to receive the Commissioner's Award. We did have our second cost containment team meeting last night, thanks to our 3 board members who were able to come and do their duty and add to the discussion. I really feel like everyone, I mean, we're everyone's coming back from meeting to meeting. The energy when they get to talk and discuss issues is really high. It's sometimes, sometimes you have a hard time getting folks to talk. This group, you have a hard time getting them to stop. And so I really appreciate that, because after a full day's work, that isn't always the case. So and I won't read through the details of everything they went through there, but just to remind folks that we do have some opportunities to access all of the data and information that the team is looking at. I know I have a message coming out that'll go on the website where there will be a link there as well that they can grab on to see all the data that's being discussed. This week is School Bus Safety Week. We were able to go out and and Michelle allowed me to speak to all the drivers. You don't get them all in a room. They're usually driving all around and all over the place. So she let me have an opportunity to go out and show our appreciation. And I appreciated them on behalf of myself and all of you. And so they were enjoying some pizza and scones and shirts that they received. So appreciate all that they do to keep our kids safe. October is National Principals Month, and so several of our school principals and assistant principals joined me on the KVOE showcase on Tuesday, and I listed the ones that were able to make it out there: Stephanie McCracken, Walker Ayers, Joy Salisbury, and Matt Baumart. So some of our principals and assistant principals, and as always, they acknowledge that they're just a representative of the whole group, and we appreciate all of our principals and assistant principals are doing to make sure that our schools are run successfully. And then I'll just mention the sixth grade walkathon. Congratulations to our sixth graders who raised over $19,000 in their 11th annual walkathon. They've raised over $152,000 since that event began, and there are several local organizations listed there that they are donating to. I was interested in the Street Cats Club. Actually, that should say club. I wrote cub. Casey, you didn't catch that for me. Street Cats Club. Yeah, I'm assuming that is a street rescue or a street cat rescue kind of mission. So I didn't figure it was like a group of folks that called themselves the Street Cats. But if you think about a bunch of sixth graders over the course of 11 years, they've raised $152,000 to give to a variety of organizations. They're learning a lot by doing that, and I think that young people get more of a kick out of being able to give than we realize sometimes, and I know that they enjoy that event.
All right, thank you. Next item is 9A, executive session personnel.
I move to go into an executive session for 20 minutes to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel in order to protect the privacy interests of the individuals to be discussed, and to return to open session at 6:58 p.m. Superintendent Dr. David McGehee, Director of Human Resources Dr. Erica Mickelson, and Interim Assistant Superintendent of Business Operations Josh Swartz are invited to join the session.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Please cast your vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Session.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please cast your vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
I move that the Board of Education approve the stipends for Corey Nicolette and Kate Cape as submitted, acknowledging that the duties outlined in the additional duties acknowledgement document define the ongoing expectations tied to the stipend.
Can we get a hand vote, please? Or after I get a second, sorry.
Second.
I would like to state that I'm going to be voting in such a way because I believe that process and procedure was not followed in this, and I am not going to be tied to a vote that does not follow procedure.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, same sign.
Motion passes 5-0, or 5-1, I'm sorry.
Thank you. That brings us to item 10A, future board calendar dates. Our next board meeting will be November 12th. And then we will have the annual Kansas Association of School Boards Convention from November 14th through the 16th, followed by our December 10th meeting. And now I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Please cast your vote.